Heal Me by Embracing Cedric on AO3.
Chapter 9. It wasn't often that Shouta caught Midoriya during a time when he was free. Most of the time, the two were at school and had their separate courses and training to complete. Sometimes, even when they weren't in school, Midoriya was offering extra tasks with Recovery Girl as part of his internship. Understandably, for most of his free hours, Midoriya did have were spent with Bakugou, but Shouto had finally managed to drag him away from gear blueprints for long enough to grab lunch and catch up. The weather was pleasant, and the streets of Mitsu were busy, filled with families and groups of friends enjoying the day. Shouto was about to start suggesting potential lunch spots when suddenly he noticed the crowds of people were beginning to move in one direction, running towards a particular part of the area. He heard excited shouts and pleas of parents telling their children to stay close, but he couldn't really pick out the reason for the commotion. Shouto caught the arm of one of the civilians running past him and forced him to stop. "Where's everyone running to?" "A villain with a tentacle court just robbed one of the shops a couple suites down. We want to see the heroes take her down." The man answered before quickly running off into the crowds. A moment later, Shouta heard the unmistakable sounds of a distinctive explosion. He and Midoriya shared a quick glance before they took off, running towards the sound, wavering through the thick of civilians to get a closer look. Sure enough, as they rounded around the corner of the scene, of a fight unfolding beneath them. As the man had reported, a villain with numerous long tentacles protruding from her hands was swinging between lampposts and building ledges in a desperate bid to flee from the heroes on scene. The pro hero seemed to be a common of the scene, had a shark wave base quirk, which sent out concentrated pulses of energy every time he claps his hand. There were other heroes on scene, mostly redirecting the crowds and assisting the hero with the shockwave quirk, so Shouta guessed that they were only sidekicks or interns. If Shouta didn't know any better, he'll think the hero with the shockwave quirk was filming a commercial rather than fighting a villain. Every clap of his hands was done in a staged manner rather than a sadistic one, like he was more concerned with appearing cool in front of the children on screen who cheered him on. Every other blast he was winking and flashing a toothy grin at a pretty woman in the crowd or shouting overdone cliches about strength and duty. The fight could have easily been finished in no time at all if the hero had been treating it like a publicity stunt. "Are you going to get involved with this?" Modera questioned, his keen eye rapidly dancing back and forth between the aspects of the scene of the situation. "If I see an opening where I should be helpful," Shota told him. "The hero seems obnoxious, but it looks like he got the situation handled." They watched as the villain swung back and forth through the cities, taunting, utilizing, and higher structures around her to remain out of reach. The hero sent wave after wave of energy after her, each one off the mark than the last, as he worried more about impressing the arriving camera crew than the fight. "Look out!" Shota whipped out his head in the direction of a sudden shout, just in time to see the side of a large multi-level building crumbling to the ground after being hit by one of the hero's inaccurate shots. He moved quickly, identifying the path with no civilians to send a wave of shock through it. The wave froze the bulk of rubble and caught most of the stray debris before it plummeted towards the people down below. Civilians cheered as they quickly cleared way from the danger, some thanking Shota as they passed if they recognized him as a user. Shota looked around and noticed that the villain fight had finally finished a few blocks away. He could see police lights in the distance, while the sounds of exaggerated laughter rang out from the hero who was no doubtly being interviewed for his work. "Is everyone okay?" Shota turned back to see Midoriya, helping to direct civilians to safety, his worried gaze scanning the crowd for anyone who may have been hurt in the chaos. "Help!" Shota and Midoriya turned towards the new shout and ran towards it, coming across a man sitting in the street, cradling a young girl in his arms. A woman kneeled beside them, sobbing incoherently and on the verge of a nervous breakdown. "Someone help us, please!" the man begged. "Our daughter is hurt!" The girl was limp in his arms, and stray pieces of rubble surrounding them, dust colliding their clothes and mixing with sweat on their brows. The mother looked up and saw Shota and Midoriya approach, her eyes widening with a frantic hope at spotting people who would willingly lend their aid. "Please help," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "She isn't waking up." Midoriya moved forward without hesitation, leaning on the other side of the young girl. Shouta heard him instruct the father to avoid moving her neck as much as possible, as he held fingers to her throat with one hand and gently opened her eyelids with another. Shouta recalled Midoriya explaining once that the more he knew about the specific details of the injury, the easier it would be to heal it. As a result, he had picked up as much medical and trauma assistance training as he could over the years. Her pulse is slow and her pupils aren't dilating equally, Midoriya murmured, looking up at the father. Did you see her hit her head? I think a stray piece of flying rubble hit her, the father answered. Everything happened so fast. We thought we were out of the way from the fight, but it went everywhere. I don't see much blood, Shouto noticed, wondering how serious the blow had been for the girl to be knocked out. Not externally, Midoriya trailed off, gently setting a hand on the girl's head. A few moments passed, the chaotic sounds of the scenes around them fading, as well as the focus was placed on the small family before them. Everyone seemed to let out a collective sigh when the girl slowly blinked her eyes open, a small groan escaping her mouth as Midoriya released her head and slumped back on his heels. Mom? The girl choked out, watery eyes searching the faces before her. Dad? Sweetheart! The mother quickly moved forward and replaced Midoriya's spot so that she and the father could cradle the girl together. Oh, it's okay, baby. Mommy's right here. You should still have her checked out by a doctor, Midoriya told them, groaning a bit himself as he struggled to his feet while Shouto supported his movements. And keep an eye out for any headaches or sensory issues. Thank you, the father said, genuine gratitude in his eyes as the mother now cried tears of joy and hugged her daughter. Thank you so much. The family carefully stood and began to follow the evacuation pathway set by recovery crew. Midoriya managed a smile and a wave, but as soon as they were out of sight, he collapsed, knees buckling as Shouta became the only thing keeping him from falling down to the ground. Are you all right? Shouta asked, maneuvering his friend's weight so that they leaned more comfortably against one another. Traumatic brain injuries are always a doozy to heal, Midoriya murmured in response as he squeezed his eyes shut and focused on trying to stand on his 2 feet. Shouta spotted him, hands held out and already ready to grab him if the healer suddenly collapsed again. With his attention so focused on Midoriya, he hardly noticed that civilians and recovery crew milling around them and certainly didn't notice the gratitude shockwave hero from before approaching them. Good work, Todoroki, the hero commented as he gestured towards the ice wall. His booming voice only served to make Midoriya groan from the sudden noise assaulting his senses. The hero looked at Midoriya, his expression significantly less thankful and less impressed. You too, kid, but unless you got a parental license, you really shouldn't be getting involved like that. Leave this sort of stuff to the heroes. I was healing her, Midoriya argued, sending the look of disbelief. I really don't need the direction of a hero to do that. Yeah, that's a helpful quirk you got there, the hero commented, clearly not recognizing that Midoriya wasn't exactly in the mood for a conversation. You should consider joining my agency. We could use you as a personal healer in our headquarters. Something about the patronizing tone in his voice told Shouto that the hero considered nurses to be more helpful assistants than trained professionals. A quick glance at Midoriya showed he'd likely picked up on the same implication, his eyes already twitching in anger. Like hell I'll ever join your agency. Hey now, watch your tone. One of the sidekicks came up about the hero, defending his superior with blind dedication. You're speaking to a pro, hero. Show some respect. I don't give a damn what you are, Midoriya snapped, pointing an accusatory finger at the hero. Technically, it's your fault the girl was hurt. I was watching the fight. You could have avoided getting hit the building if your technique wasn't so fucking sloppy. You little... Okay, we're going now. Shouto quickly looped his arm around Midoriya and began to lead him away, warning signals flaring in his head as he saw the fuming expression form on the hero's face. Midoriya dragged his feet and clapped his guard trained on the man as they walked away. Good choice, the hero called out, chuckling a little like he just wanted another fight. You should stick with your friend, kid. Maybe you would learn a thing or two about respecting pros from the son of Endeavor. Shouto felt his own eye twitch, but refused to turn around and entertain the asshole any further. When they finally moved about a block away and Shouto glanced over his shoulder to confirm that the hero and the sidekick hadn't followed, he plopped Midoriya down on the bench to rest. You shouldn't have pulled me away, Midoriya grumbled, mouth set in a childish pout. Listen, you'll probably give yourself a concussion healing that girl's head, Shouto reminded him. I doubt you're in the right state to be picking fights with pro heroes. Believe me, I wanted to freeze that asshole as soon as he mentioned my father, but sometimes you just need to walk away. He heard Midoriya mumble something underneath his breath, but the healer didn't argue any further. Shouta let out a sigh, glancing around to get his bearings, wondering how far they wandered from the lunch spot he had been contemplating, when he spotted two young girls standing nearby. They seemed to be bickering with one another, sending occasional glances in his and Midoriya's direction, and one of them held their phone up in the air like they were taking a picture. One of the girls finally saw that Shouta had noticed them and nudged her friend before the two began walking over. Hey, sorry to bother you, but did your friend heal that little girl with his quirk? One of the girls asked as they approached. Oh, yes? Shouta answered, glancing back at Midoriya to see him watching the girls with wary eyes. That's so cool. The other girl held her phone up more confidently and pointed at Midoriya. Sorry, I started live streaming as soon as the villain fight started, but then I saw you saving that girl, and it was just so much cooler. How does your healing quirk work? It's nothing special, really, Midoriya replied with an embarrassing chuckle, clearly a bit flustered from the sudden attention. But it does take a lot of my energy to use, so if you wouldn't mind. Oh, of course, we'll leave you be. We just wanted to say thank you. The girl with the phone turned around and held it up in the air. Shouta could see the camera view had been flipped so that she and Midoriya were now on the screen. A live chat was running at the bottom of the corner, comments flooding in from her viewers. Hey everybody, say thank you to the cute healer boy. The girl held up the peace sign and smiled while Midoriya gave a hesitant wave and tired grin of his own in the background. The vlogger's friend seemed more spectacle to Midoriya's exhausted state and began to tug her away by her elbow. Can't wait to see you working with the pros one day, she called over her shoulder as she and the vlogger wandered away in search of more things to film. Well, aren't you a celebrity? Shouta teased, reaching out a hand to pull his friend to his feet. Shut up, Midoriya mumbled, lack of any true malice in his word. There was still a bit of embarrassed flush to his cheek. I have a headache. I wonder why, Shouta dawned, worrying sending over him as he watched Midoriya sway slightly on his feet and shield his eyes from his bright sun. Come on, let's get you some food. I think there's good Katsuki place nearby. After eating, Izuku felt instantly better. He wasn't lying when he said brain injuries were a mess to heal, and in his younger years, he had been way worrying over potential long-term damage of his own brain. But Island's careful monitoring never picked up any lasting damage on his end. He was perfectly well enough to continue around Mutsu with his reassurance enough to stop Shouto from ushering him back to the 2A dorm so he could at least rest for a bit. He expected to encounter a full of 2A students lounging about in the common area when they entered. It was their off day, so some of them usually were there with a small group of study sessions or socializing, while the vast majority either kept to their rooms or were doing some personal training out on campus. What he didn't expect was to see a good chunk of 2A occupied in the common area, the voices loud and lively and crowding about each other and looking at something. Izuku couldn't tell, but when he and Shouto moved to join them and questioned what all the excitement was about, they were interrupted by Katsuki, who intercepted them at the door. The explosive boy gripped Izuku's face with rare gentleness, his eyes scanning quickly every visible part of the healer. Are you okay? Katsuki asked, concern evident in his tone. How's your head? I'm fine, Kachan, Izuku assured him, though he allowed his boyfriend to fuss and check over him. How did you even know about my head? You. Midoriya! Kirishima had finally spotted him, and Shouto and broke away from the classmates to run over with a bride grin. The rant was so manly, dude. Like, I thought you dug into us during training, but now I'm thinking you held back. I know, Uraraka explained, from her seat on the other couches. The hero looked ready to fight you, even with all those witnesses standing around. I would have paid to see that, Sero said, Kirishima high-fiving him in agreement. Izuku looked between Shouto, who appeared to be just as confused as he was, and Katsuki, who seemed more and more worried by the second. He finally looked back at Kirishima with a frowned brow and wondered if maybe he wasn't entirely recovering from the healing head injury earlier that day. What are you all... How do you know about the... Have you not seen the video yet? Kirishima asked, tilting his head slightly in confusion. He began tugging at Izuku towards the rest of the students, who now realized he had been staring down at their phones. Mina, pull up the video. What video? Oh, no. Izuku stared down at the phone Ashido shoved in front of his face with instinct horror as he watched the video in question play on the screen. It was footage of the villain fight from earlier, but halfway through the fight, whoever was filming focused the camera elsewhere and managed to capture Izuku healing the young girl as well as the heated criticism he had later thrown at the pro hero for his careless work. Eventually, the camera flipped and showed the vlogger girl who approached them, helping Izuku piece together what was it that they'd been filming. It was a live stream, but someone saved the recording and put it on the video, Shinso told him, coming up beside Izuku to show his own phone screen displaying one of the major hero discuss form. It seemed every other post was about the video. Many of them tagged #CuteHealerBoy in their comments. Everyone's taking about it right now. You've gone viral! I'm gonna be in so much trouble for this, Izuku murmured. What? No way, Kirishima argued. Look, everyone's taking your side. They're all agreeing that the hero's work was sloppy and he should have been more careful. Apparently, he didn't have the best record to begin with, Iida shared, scrolling through articles of his own phone. His fights against villains always tend to result in unnecessary collateral damage. The only difference here was that someone actually finally called him out. You're like a tiny celebrity, Midoriya, Asui commented. Yeah, I'd rather not be, Izuku maintained. What if UA doesn't like that I yelled at a pro hero? What if my mom finds out? What if Island's instructor find out? They wouldn't pull you from your internship, would they? Katsuki asked, even more anxious than before. Everything will work out just fine, Shouto assured them. Honestly, even if there was an issue, the hero had a record less than stellar work. I'm sure I could ask my dad to speak in your defense if it came down to it. You hate asking your own man for favors, Katsuki pointed out. Yeah, well, Shouto gave him a soft shrug. I'd hate it more if Midoriya had to leave. Izuku watched Katsuki's eyes widen by a fraction before he turned down towards the kitchen, murmuring something over his shoulder about how he'd make Izuku more food. Shinso sent Izuku a hopeful smile that the healer tried his best to return. Let's just hope this all blows over, Izuku murmured. The last thing I need is more unwanted attention. Todoroki should have let Midoriya dig into that hero more. I would pay to see Midoriya just absolutely like talk their ear about that hero. Like, I want to see them win an argument. I want to see him just absolutely obliterate someone with his words and his critiques. Please. I just want that. I need that. It's a need. It's not a want. It's a need. Okay, so Izuku's right. He does not need the more attention on him. And because of this video, let's just say something happens in the future. I've read this fanfic before, so I know what's gonna happen next. And it was like, oh my god. Like, this one video makes up the whole fucking plot, kind of, right? In like the future, kind of like chapters to come next. Oh my god, I can't speak. It's literally like 11:30 p.m. I need to wake up at 6 tomorrow. Not for work. I'm graduating tomorrow. Literally all day today. It's been a horrible day. Okay. My profile picture has my hair blue because normally I have my hair blue. I've had it blue for years, right? But for a play I did like about a year ago, I had to change it back to brown, right? So it was a dark brown for a while. And I tried to stay a while without like dyeing it because I wanted my hair to grow like back and, you know, get healthy and stuff. And so finally I was able to like I cut it today and it went down enough so that I could, or not today, it was yesterday. It went down enough. No, it was today. I don't know. Today's been so emotional. I don't even know. But I cut it, like somebody cut it. They messed it up. They gave me bangs. I didn't ask for bangs. I asked for like the front part to be up to my like jawline. I'm like, can I have my front part to my jawline? No bangs, just up there, right? But technically speaking, that's curtain bangs. And they gave me bangs. They gave me bangs. I asked for no bangs. Anyways. And then my hair was supposed to be this aqua blue. It's like Marinette's hair color from Miraculous Ladybug, but she has more blue in it than me. Quite literally, it looks black with hints of blue. It literally looks black with hints of blue. Like, in the, like, when you're inside or stuff like that, it looks black, but when you're outside, it looks like a really, really dark blue. Whatever, graduation's tomorrow. I'm literally recording this today because I can't do it tomorrow, because tomorrow I have graduation, and then I have work, and then I have a little dinner, and then I can't record Saturday because I'm at work all the way till like 3, and I try to keep all my posts at 2. But yeah, I cannot wait for the next chapter. I can't. My eyes hurt. I'm literally gonna pass out as soon as this like ends. As always, make sure to eat, sleep. Sleep, that is very important. I need to sleep. I want sleep. Where was I? Make sure to eat, sleep. Drink water, take your meds. Did I say eat already? Make sure to sleep, drink water, eat. Take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.